Greetings, everyone. Jonathan here from Plagiarism Today, and I'm glad to be back. I know I have not been doing videos for a while, a lot of things going on. Maybe I'll talk more about it later, maybe I won't. But today I've been getting a lot of requests to sort of talk about what I think about the Zombies Run game. This little app, I don't know if you can actually see this, but it's an app for the iPhone and for Android phones that's designed to help motivate you to get out there and run, and what better way to motivate you than to make you run from zombies. And indeed, that's exactly the goal of this game. And people constantly ask me what I think about it. They've seen my tweets about it, they've seen my Facebook posts about it, so they want to know what I think about it. Because it's an interesting app, it's a new idea, but it's also kind of expensive. It's $3 for the app itself, and if you want the absolute full everything season pass, it's another $8. So you're plunking down and about $11 to get all the content, which isn't much. It's less than the cost of a CD or a DVD, but for an iPhone app, it sure is a lot. So a lot of people are wondering about it. So I want to do a quick review of it. And my idea is that this is going to be a review that when people in the future ask me about it, I'll just, send them this link. And so if you got this link from that, congratulations, the video worked. But on that note, the best way to analyze this game is to talk about it in 3 parts very quickly. And the first part is the actual zombies. And I've got to say, that part of the game's pretty good. The basic idea is that while you're running, there's a radio play ongoing, and it's playing on your earphones. And the idea is between tracks in your playlist, they're going to come on with a broadcast or a conversation or some sound effects or whatever is happening in the plot at that time to drive the action forward. And depending upon how long you select the mission to last, whether it's 30 minutes or 60 minutes, will determine roughly how long the mission itself is. And it's not very accurate, I'm going to be honest with you. I set mine to 30 minutes because I usually do 3, 4, or 5 mile runs, and I don't like ending, I don't like ending my run halfway through a mission. It's kind of annoying. So I'd rather have it end earlier in the run than kick into radio mode, which I'll talk about in a minute. But the point being, it kicks in basically after every song. You get a song, you get a plot element, you get a song, get a plot element, going on and on through your run. And the radio play itself is pretty well done. It's reasonably well acted. The sound effects are good. The actual quality is decent, at least. It's good. And I've got to say, I'm actually impressed. Even though I am a big zombie movie fan, I have to admit that lately zombie movies have been getting kind of samey and kind of retreading themselves a lot. So I was really worried this would just be, zombie land with running or something. And it turned out to actually be pretty cool. The basic idea being you're a runner from Able Township, and your job is to leave the town into the zombie wilderness and go gather supplies and go do other things the township needs done. And since the zombies in this world are slow, it really doesn't matter how fast you are. You can pretty much, walk at a brisk pace and outgun these zombies. But it's about the distance. It's about getting the miles in. And it does a pretty good job motivating you. I'll say that some missions are better than others. For example, I would say of the 10 missions I've done so far, maybe half were really good. A couple were just mediocre, and a few were outright bad. The one I did today was just depressing and not motivating at all, and I think my time actually suffered from using this app. But point being, the radio play part, very good, very interesting, and it's a lot of fun, actually. I really enjoyed that part. But then we kick over to the run tracker, and that is where this app really, really, really falls down. If you need or desire a high-end, great run tracker, don't get Zombies Run. It's actually got probably the worst run tracker I have tried, and I don't say that statement lightly. It's inaccurate, it has very limited features, and frankly, it's just not good. To really quickly recap some of my bigger gripes with it. One is that it does connect with Runkeeper, but only in this very roundabout way, where what you do is rather than having the app itself just beam it straight to Runkeeper, it goes to something called ZombieLink, which is basically their effort to create a Runkeeper clone. And once it's in ZombieLink will then export it to Runkeeper. And that process just isn't accurate. Every time I do that, I get different numbers in Runkeeper than I have in the Zombies Run game. And it usually takes off, a tenth of a mile to a quarter of a mile off my run, saying the run was shorter than it actually was. And it tacks on time. So when Runkeeper gets it, my times look terrible. And it really upsets me when something happens like the other day when I got, for me, a personal best 5K time. and it makes it into Runkeeper, and it looks like total garbage. So that really upsets me. It's never enough to truly anger me, but it's enough to make me notice the difference and to make my times look a lot worse than they were. So it's worth noting that. Things like if you pause the zombie app, those don't translate into Runkeeper. So just keep all that in mind. If you have to stop and tie your shoe, you have a problem starting the mission, yeah, just keep that in mind, I guess. But the bigger issue for me is that it really does lack options. There's no ability to set up a heart rate monitor. There's no ability whatsoever to customize the audio feedback you get. I mean, basically you can turn it on or off, and that's your customization. If you don't like hearing it every mile or every kilometer, because you can also set the distance, but if you don't like hearing it at every mile or every kilometer, and you don't like just hearing your time, you're SOL, because they can't give you your cadence, your pace, there's no metronome, there's none of that stuff. That's your only audio feedback feature. It also doesn't have a lot of the stuff you would expect from a really, really high-end running app. Like I mentioned, the metronome, the pace assistance. It doesn't do things like track your gear and things like that. It doesn't do. So bear that in mind. It's a very, very bare bones one, and it's very, very limited, and it seems to be very, very inaccurate as well. And for the record, iSmoothRun and Runkeeper, I've used them both, and they seem to get information right every single time. So I have no idea what Zombies Run is doing. Finally, there's the base building minigame in this, and I really can't talk about it too much because it turns out in the iOS version there's a particularly nasty bug where you don't get materials. The basic idea is as you complete missions, you get supplies and you get materials, and you take those things and you spend them to build up your base. And I really do like base building games, but for the past 7 missions or so, I haven't collected any materials, so I'm physically incapable of doing anything with it. I can't upgrade anything, I can't expand the base, I can't add new buildings, I can't do anything. So basically I'm stuck, unable to actually play this portion of the game, even though I'm sitting on a huge pile of supplies. So yeah, that's kind of annoying, but I have to say, even when I was actually able to play it, it was not a very compelling game. I like base building games. I grew up playing like Command and Conquer and stuff, so base building's appealing to me, but this game, it doesn't connect, and it doesn't really seem like anything you do in that game affects what you're doing on the street, at least not in any way I can, see. So yeah, I don't know. Maybe it's a weird side part that doesn't work right for me, and it isn't compelling anyway. So all this comes around to the question of who is this app for, and this is what I've been wrestling with. On one hand, it's definitely not for runners who are like ultra competitive and high end and really, really need that perfect run tracker app. This isn't it. The run tracker and it is atrocious. Seriously, spend your money on iSmoothRun. You'll be much, much happier. But it's not really for novice runners either. They have a Couch to 5K program that's a separate app, and I actually bought that for my wife. She's wanting to get into running, and so she's going to try that probably once we get the treadmill in. So she'll be the one doing the review on that, if anyone. I have no idea how that one is. But yeah, there's that. But if you're a novice runner, you're not going to really get much out of Zombies Run because you've got to be able to run 30 minutes. If you can't really do a 5K comfortably, Zombies Run, not probably a good purchase. So it's for those intermediate runners who maybe aren't super competitive but are able to run a pretty good distance, and I guess I fit that bill pretty well. My times aren't going to blow anyone away, but on the other hand, I can actually run some moderately good distances. Maybe not a marathon, but a 5K or a 10K run is certainly well within my means. So I guess I fit that niche, but I don't know. I mean, it's one of those things where I always want to recommend it because I like zombies, and I do actually think the radio play is pretty good. But the quality of the run tracker, its roundabout way for connecting the Runkeeper, it's like they got the content part of this very, very right, but the technical part less right. So I guess that's my thoughts on Zombies Run. That's the most fair review I can give you. Just decide for yourself if it's right for you. Personally, if you do think it's a good idea, I would plunk down the $3 now and get the app, but hold off on the season pass because you got 23 missions you've got to get through in season 1 that come free with that app, and B, it'll let you really decide if it's for you, and also C, I guess, there's a decent chance the season passes will go on sale sometime in the near future. I managed to catch it at a half off sale. I went ahead and bought the season 2 season pass. Don't know if I'm going to recommend. I don't know if I'm even going to get the season 2, honestly, but point being, I would hang back on that purchase for a period of time, at least until you're sure it's right for you. So on that note, everyone, thank you very much for joining me. Sorry for running long with this video, but until next time, this is Jonathan Bailey, signing off.